Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fridays at 4 on twitch.tv/DDO stream. I'm your community manager, Cordovan. We're going to be doing some night revels later on today, and I've got some news to get through as well. Overall, though, pretty light week of news. Most of what you know about has already gone out this week. We will talk a little bit about that, do some follow-up Q&A on it. The main thing I would let you know is that we are continuing to work on our first raid preview for Lamania. If everything goes well, that could hit our Lamania public preview server, the first of most likely something like 2 raid previews, and that could hit next week. Otherwise, it's a lot of stuff that happened this week. So I really want to thank you for being here. Thank you for playing the game, and let's get to a little bit of news. Main thing I want to mention is this is your final weekend for plus 20 Hearts of Wood in the store. So if you're doing any respecking and need one of those plus 20s, you've got through Sunday to do that. Our bonus days is double mysterious remnants. That means there's twice the chance for remnants to appear when you defeat a champion. So when you defeat a champion, there's a chance for remnants. That chance is twice as high on a double mysterious remnants boost weekend. The main thing I want to put up on the screen here, I guess, which one is that? Here we go. Let's talk a little bit about the news of the week. We had a patch this week, and I got a bunch of questions in the community about it, so this is about as good a chance as any to go through some of the stuff and get you some answers. All right, so we had a small game update this week that was really focused on a game performance fix. This changes the way some landscapes, some wilderness areas are loaded to make their handling more efficient. So it really doesn't involve all wilderness areas, and it doesn't involve all zones in all wilderness areas. But for the subset of zones that this impacts, what it's going to mean is that it won't be always on. You know, right now, if you think about the way the game, well, I guess to borrow a bit of a Tron phrase, if you think about the internet as packets of data moving through a grid, then an MMO is a very busy city, is it not? Because you've got a lot of things going to and fro. Order of operation matters a huge amount. You know, something will be like, well, do you have this benefit? If you have this benefit, it does this. So you need to make sure that that benefit is there so that the thing that needs to check the benefit knows to look for it and finds it and then gives you the thing, right? There's a million different permutations of that happen in the MMO space. And a lot of that happens based on, well, what do I need to pay attention to? And in a dungeon space, it's typically, well, the instance you're in a wilderness, historically, it has been the whole thing. So even if you think about like the way we do wilderness spaces, the fact that it's such a large footprint, essentially, as part of this communication process, makes it somewhat less efficient. And as part of our game performance work, we are tackling this one, and we tackled it this week by, in some cases, those land blocks will no longer be persistent. So that instead of having to worry about this much, you only have to worry about this much. So what the impact of that is that in these impacted wilderness spaces, you may occasionally find that if you say summon a hireling and then move on the other side of the map, after a couple of minutes, that hireling might disappear because the space it's in has gone away, in which case you might need to resummon the hireling. It really should have generally little impact on most gameplay, because most people won't ever encounter the reasons that this would take place. But particularly if you're used to a lot of Big B's guiding hands to do placeholders while you're inside of a dungeon, hirelings that you'd like to camp spawn for extra kills, that kind of thing, this might impact you. But it's already made a big difference in terms of the game performance that we've seen over the past 48 hours. We at some point, I'd love to show you a chart, and perhaps at some point here we can. But one of the things that the engineering team can use to take a look at, well, how did things go over the weekend? It's sort of, you can think of it almost like a lag heat map, right? Where are these roadblocks that we're encountering that we can measure? Let's map that. And then, so basically green is good, red is bad. And you'll see before we did this change in these spaces, there was a whole bunch of red. And then after we've done these changes, it's pretty much all green. So we know for sure that it's made a difference, essentially. But we've also seen good reports from you over the past couple of days. That said, like every game performance fix we've ever made, how it plays on Wednesday night is only somewhat relevant. What matters a lot more is how things go over the weekend when we got peak player population and things like that. So we'll be keeping an eye on it through the weekend, but it's a positive step forward for us, and that did go out this week. The other thing is we fixed a bad rock that was preventing people from getting to the Green Dragon in the Isle of Dread Wilderness. All right. Well, so that was a lot of what happened this week. I would just say, for the record, we do still have our Ghost World transfers available. You can learn more about that over on DDO.com. These Ghost World transfers are continuing. We have seen continued heavy use of them, but we've also seen steady, consistent success through the system. So if you're encountering a problem with Ghost World's transfers, particularly if the server's not showing for you or you're just getting stuck on an hourglass, it's probably because it's full. If you're having a different issue, please do get in touch with us as necessary. And if you've had an issue with us, CS is continuing to work through it. But this is going to continue for at least 2 years, so you have plenty of time to get your characters from these Ghost Worlds. But we've seen in recent weeks, since these worlds closed at the end of August, players who are returning who didn't get the memo. They didn't know that we had closed the 32-bit worlds, and now they're a little worried because they're like, what happened to all my characters? What'd you do to them? Well, they're back. They're available to transfer for free to our 64-bit game worlds. You can find out how over on DDO.com. We're going to run it, but Night Revels is running through November 4th. And finally, before I get to your questions and in-game, let me just put this up on the page because I want everyone to tell all your friends to do this. If you got an alt account, use it, etc. Free coupon, Gather Your Party 2025 through December 31st gets you a whole ton of free stuff, up to and including 32-point build characters. So there should be no reason a player is making a 28-point build, except I guess if you're a drow, but that kind of still counts. You know what I mean. Anyway, 32-point build characters, so do it. You can also get caught up on our expansions for 99 points. This is only through November 2nd, though, so a little bit of time, but you could get 495 points or so. You could get Fables of the Feywild, Masterminds of Sharn, Menace of the Underdark, Mists of Ravenloft, and the Shadowfell Conspiracy. And that's a lot of stuff for a pretty low DDO points cost. So, all right, let me go check our chat here real quick, and then I will get inside of the game. You had a, quote, 900 gamer limit. Well, there are limits in place. We saw that over on the Lord of the Rings Online side last weekend, probably this weekend as well, over on their European server, Orcrist. They hit player caps and started getting queues. That same thing could happen, probably most likely on Shadowdale, but maybe not. But we're not really that close yet. We're getting there, but we're not that close yet. So to date, we really haven't seen much in the way of queues on the worlds, but they are pretty full. And it is true that we want to make sure that we can support as many players as we can. So I don't know that 900 is the limit. People have been kind of trying to find how many players equals how much lag. And it's informative, but I don't know that 900 is exactly the formal limit. I think it's a little higher than that. Actually, I know it is, but yeah. Speaking of Thrain, guess where I am? I am moving. I am no longer a Shadodali resident. I am now a member of Thrain. Actually, I've been on Thrain. So if you recall, for recent weeks, I've been kind of prepping my Shadowdale main to actually start running raids and doing some other good things. I'm not 100% there yet. This week has been absolute insanity, and I've not had time to really do much of anything other than work and take care of other tasks in my life. But I'm just about wrapped up with, quote, getting set on Shadowdale as part of my plan to get characters stream ready on all the servers. So now we're over on Thrain. I have a character I'm going to be running more frequently on Thrain than the one we're playing today. The one we're playing today is in a bit of a half-baked state, in that their gear isn't a disaster. It's sort of where they left off, but it's not really where it will be either, because I haven't actually done all the work that I just spent the last couple of months doing on Shadowdale, where I basically took consolidated gear, crafted a bunch of things up, basically got everyone positioned with good stuff. I haven't done that yet on this character, but I'm starting. So for the foreseeable future here, we'll probably be on Thrain for a while, and what that'll let me do is just sort of get some characters up to 2030 and get them ready too. This character is level 18, a bit of an odd duck out. But since I knew that this character hadn't run Night Revels, and Night Revels seemed good thematic content for this leading up to Halloween live stream, I thought I would just take advantage of the massive XP dump that is Night Revels the first time you run through them, and just enjoy. So I don't know what difficulty I can handle yet on this character. I haven't really looked at the gear, but I'm assuming Zentradi can probably do all right in here with some cleric help. And we will see whether that is true or not shortly. But easy way to get some XP if you're kind of in the doldrums of your XP journey.
Piercing chill permeates the air as you enter the Lord's March Bank after hours.
So that is what I'm up to really today. Is I'm just getting ready on this is a character that I don't really, this is unlikely to be, Zentradi's been this character for a while now. This character will probably stay a fighter type, but I'm moving away from a fighter type, and I'm getting set up on my Wild Mage Eladrin Vini, who is also on Thrain here. They're currently level 9. And so I've got some work to do on them, and I wasn't quite ready to step into their shoes for the live stream today. So I figured, since I wanted to get the easy XP, and because the Beanie is still within the Chilla Ravenloft level range, I would leave them be for this week's show. Instead, just get some free XP on Zentradi. Which is, of course, a misspelling of the classic Alien Empire from a certain old cartoon that I may have grown up watching a whole bunch. Uh-oh, what did I do with my Twitch chat? Where are you? Here we go. Yeah. Well, I don't think the saddest thing is I don't think Robotech is for nerds. It was for all of us kids back then. It was just such a different world, though. But anyway, I thought it was about the coolest thing ever when I was a certain age. Okay, who am I speaking to? I thought I already spoke to Francis. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay. Find the creepy collectible dolls. Okay. You know, I can, if I ever need to know whether or not someone is a Gen Xer, I can be like, finish this phrase, the SDF. Yeah. And we'll see if there's a pattern recognition there, so. Oh, I'm not there yet. Okay. Never mind.
A gem begins to glow as the lever is pulled.
Okay, so we'll go back. It's true that Silverhawks was another one, but I don't know how many people remember that one. I think that one had somewhat more limited distribution in the United States. And that was Tatsunoko. Right? I think is how you say it. Uh-oh. Ah, shoot. I forgot which direct. I was like, okay, let me pay attention this time. Oh, let me pay attention next time. I already... Okay. Wasn't looking.
The magical
There we go.
word on a door.
All right.
A shadowy shape lurks in the distance.
Do we need a guild for buffs in Spirit Binder? Oh, on this character, probably not. I have to be honest, I haven't actually looked to see if I'm even in... Oh, no, I'm on Team Awesome in this character. I'm the only member of Team Awesome. But Team Awesome was a old guild that I was in, or that I led with my brother and a couple buddies from high school way back in the day. And I've just sort of hung on to it because fun reasons. So I suppose I could probably guild this character up at some point, but we'll see. I've kind of been of the mind of doing a DDO stream guild for my stream characters, because that also seems to make some sense to me, but we'll see. You don't need a Spirit Binder, you'll just end up over on Snowy Side or whatever. It's a nice convenient place to go wherever you want. Unless you end up maybe on the Heart of Wind or something. Oh, I suppose I could probably use my rage as well. Make this go a little easier.
Something seems slightly odd about your surroundings.
I don't think I've got any... I don't think I have any openers here, so we'll just do without.
Fades into nothingness when the last blow lands.
Creepy doll. Glad we have a creepy doll. Okay. What do I got left here? Don't get me started on music. We have got just crazy times happening. And let me check, see if I've got one of these. Oh, I do. I do have a bell of opening. All right, well, let's use it. Okay, so are there any... I don't think there's anything in these deposit boxes, right? I don't think I have to worry about that for the last collectible? It's been a while, but I don't think so. Going to say no. Yes. So far I've heard nothing that would indicate we are not able to hit our preview plans for the new raid on Lamania next week. We should be all set to go. I would expect something like Tuesday, Wednesday on it. But we'll see. We'll see where we land. But I'm pretty much done with Chilla Ravenloft crafting on Shadowdale. I just have that little wilderness bit I've been talking about to do, and I just haven't done it because I'm too busy this week to even have any game time to myself. That's not true. I did one wilderness solo last night, and I picked up myself up another 7 of the bits. But that's it. I believe character copy will be working for Lamania. That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that, but I believe so. I know on the Lord of the Rings Online side, as of their most recent preview, we officially moved over to character copies through their Bullroarer launcher, similar to Lamania. And if that's the case, it is possible that future character copies to Lamania will happen through the Lamania launcher rather than the Bullroarer launcher, or the live launcher as well. So if you're used to right now going to the live client and copying your characters to Bullroarer, I think in the future that will be done using the Lamania client. And the reason... I may have been confusing them on. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, the reason is it allows us to separate it out in a way that means you don't have to do all that packing, unpacking, and all that other kind of stuff. So I think from a technical perspective, that's where we're at. No news on 64-bit transfers. I have not heard anything in this past week about it. I know some other than getting the raid ready and getting this game update out the door. We've been heavy at work on 2026 planning. You know, we have budgets and timelines and schedules and all that other kind of stuff you got to do to make this sort of thing happen. Those conversations are well underway. Next year being our 20th anniversary, of course, is going to have us pretty busy as well. So, you know, we're expecting a pretty busy 2026, and we've been kind of heavy in the middle of a lot of the 2026 planning right now. And then a lot of the performance work we've done. You know, we've seen, I think it's safe to say, pretty dramatic improvements in game performance over the past, say, 2 months, based on the work that we've done, and even more this week. Hopefully, we have very positive results that continue through the weekend here. But we also know, like we have been doing, that every layer we peel back uncovers the next thing to work on a lot. of times, and I believe that that's the case here as well. Bit of a never-ending process, but nonetheless, we should be seeing pretty dramatic improvement if everything goes well. Well, so for 2026, you know, I can say that... What can I say about 2026? It'll be our 20th anniversary is probably the biggest thing. Not every game gets to celebrate their 20th, and we're lucky to be able to. So we're planning to do quite a bit. I think we're going to see some pretty interesting things happening with the anniversary, around the anniversary time frame. I would expect us to bring back Crystal Cove and the Mimic Hunt if we can. Other than that, I really can't speak to content or their plans at this point. It wouldn't be appropriate, but... In some ways, I would think that outside of the special events, like the anniversary and such, the content cadence will be pretty similar to what we've done. In terms of, like, how much and when. Oh, I didn't bring up my cleric. Just in case. I think it is probably safe to say that, like we've been doing for a number of years now, we will likely have an expansion next year. And the whole concept of mini and normal has not been a thing for a while now, and will continue to not be a thing. Oops. If I fix lag, you'll buy Lamortia? Oh gosh. Guess I know what I'm doing this weekend. To be fair, though, appreciate the sentiment, for sure. And we have taken, I think, pretty significant strides. If you think about where we are tonight versus where we were, oh, I don't know, early mid-August, something like that, we have dramatically... we have had a dramatic improvement in game performance. And we know that we have more work to do, but let's celebrate the gains we have made. And I think that we, hopefully, saw a pretty significant one this week with a relatively minor impact. The main impact, however, being that it does change some gameplay behavior for people who are used to parking hirelings or big bees and stuff in large wilderness areas, and then just leaving them. I actually do know what our next big area is going to be, but gosh, I can't say that right now. I do not want to have that be my weekend. You said what? Why did you do that? They told me to. You know, we live in a world of AI, and our game really does not use any AI. If there's any AI going on, I ain't aware of it. We're creatives actually making stuff. We're not just entering sentences into chatbots. But we also live in a future where pretty soon that's going to start to sound pretty dinosaur-like. And I think that we are living in a world where sooner rather than later, a whole bunch of our video games are going to be made in part with AI. Whether it's just dropping trees all over the place, or just building worlds, or polishing up dialogue, or going through script. You know, there's a whole bunch of things. So, but we ain't there yet. It's kind of one of those things where it's like a lot of the things that we tend to criticize as disruptive technology is disruptive until the point that it's just part of normal life. You can think about like cell phones being a good example of that. And at some point you get to this point where it's like all those old criticisms of what it is, it's like, well, are cell phones good? I mean, maybe not. In many ways you could say absolutely not. But are we getting rid of cell phones as a world? Oh, ain't gonna happen. So, and it does a lot of good too, right? So it gets complicated real quick. And AI will be the same way. What you maybe in your head picture as making video games with AI and what it will actually mean to make a video game using AI tech in 5 to 10 years are going to be very, very kind of different places. So you won't even know it. That's the thing. Once this AI future really hits us, we won't even know it's just going to be like, oh yeah, they just made a game like people make games. It's only disruptive now because we're at the front end of the process here. Which is generally the worst part to be. I don't think anyone would be too surprised to know that I still prefer writing things by using my brain with real words that I type onto things. But that means nothing. So yes. So Streamtom, I'm actually surprised that there was some level of confusion over the usage of the term landscape to describe wilderness areas. I've been using that term since 2007 or so. And I guess when I was looking at the notes, it didn't even occur to me at the time that people would see landscape and be like, what is a landscape? Yeah, but you're also probably correct. We probably should have just said wilderness area. It's just that the notes came together on like Monday night. So anyway, but yeah, it's a wilderness area. So I think most games call them landscapes. We're somewhat unusual in DDO that we have sort of a branded term for it as wilderness. I think back in the day it was as much a reflection of some landscape-like spaces happening in our instances in a way that perhaps doesn't in some other MMOs. And so they wanted to separate it out as really the kind of more traditional MMO-style Slayer zone. But even then, I mean, I think if you go back to old DDO casts, I probably called them landscapes from day one. or at least close to it. It's not even all landscapes where, quote, Bigby's will get deleted after 2 minutes. Generally, it'll be larger landscape blocks in specific unperformant zones that have been identified as seeing a beneficial improvement, which is why we couldn't just give you a list, because the list is, well, it's some spaces of some zones. But really the work was done by zone type, not by by wilderness land block. So it's like the ones that contain this kind of land block. Okay, you know. But yes, it'll be certain wilderness zones that if you let... It's not 2 minutes. It's whenever the instance collapses after you're no longer within any kind of detection range of it. So it's not like around a corner. It's a little deeper than that. But yeah, in general, if you park a hireling and then go far away, something like 2 minutes after you lose sight of the land block, the land block will do what most things do in this game and collapse since it's no longer needed, and thus take your hireling with it. But you're not... We've already seen to date, a lot of people aren't even running into it, so... let's do Snitch and Lich.
The distant sounds of panicked voices and scattered fighting echo from the walls. The moonlight reveals a path amongst the rooftops.
I would say, in general, don't change your behavior unless you're experiencing a problem. And you probably won't experience a problem unless you're engaging in specific sort of parking behavior on landscapes. Or, like in the case of Bigby's hands, that's probably the biggest one, is the old thing where you could just sort of pop the Bigby's outside of the quest and then go into the quest, and then 5 minutes later, the person who joins your LFM can just join you. That's the biggest impact from this, because that's going to not really function anymore. There's really not much we can do about that, but... It's true, I guess, well, there's, again, you get into a terminology debate. So, non-standard hirelings, the ones that you buy with plat, that you have to summon at the start of entrances. Those you're going to have to keep summoning at the start of an entrance if you get into a position on a wilderness where the land block goes away. And so you might have to do that. But anything that's gold seal should be fine.
The mummy collapses into a pile of scattered bandages and fetid dust.
No one's really concerned about punishing here. Like, someone is saying we're doing this to punish parkers or whatever. Nah. This is just a byproduct of the landscape degradation adjustment. Nothing has actually changed with hirelings. We didn't do it because of this. It's just if the space isn't there anymore, the things that are in this space aren't there anymore. And we have determined that this is beneficial enough to justify it.
The door opens,
Yeah, like you say, Freeling, there's nothing wrong with it. Never had a problem with it. Totally fine.
to control the next gate.
I'm not saying you couldn't use exploits, but just parking a hire to heal you from a distance or, get some free kills. They ain't gonna kill anything.
The gate opens, revealing a courtyard and a ladder. Dark creatures begin to appear from the shadows.
Okie dokie.
The ladder slides into place, allowing access to the rooftops above. The zombie in the courtyard looks strangely familiar. The undead corpse of Roderick Nettle shifts to look. Roderick Nettle's undead form slumps to the ground.
So, what else can I talk about?
He gasps. The shield surrounding the Lich fades, and he closes to attack.
We are getting ready to... one of the tasks for next week for me is to write up what will eventually be our guide for our upcoming Fae event, which has a title that I don't believe has been stated yet, that I don't think I can state for you today. But we have a title for it now, kind of like a Lithid invasion. And that is going to be going live here soon. Not during Night Revels, but soon. And so we're going to have a guide that'll explain in general how the event will work. But I'll tell you, there's going to be some things in the event that aren't in the guide by design. So, hint, hint. But you'll see. But that's coming up too. So Torque, for example, specifically is doing a lot of heavy lifting this week and next week on getting that event ready to launch. And both Torque and others who are involved in the raid this time are working on getting that final raid polish done. Really looking forward to our Lamania next week on it so that we can get iterative feedback for the following one. Make sure we have a little bit of time to respond to whatever it is you want to tell us about it. And yeah, I guess that's it. We're also working on a December update per usual. Again, per usual, a bit of a smaller update to wrap up the year, especially with everything that we were just saying we have going on next year. We're going to be pretty busy, so... I don't know that we have ever released a raid that, quote, requires all build types. That said, we are certainly familiar with the forum feedback in particular that has let us know that you would like to see a wider role for casters in the next raid. So I know that the development team has taken a look at that and will hopefully find things that will be appealing to you. And we look forward to seeing your feedback on Lamani about it. As a general rule, though, we're not going to, quote, require raids to have certain things like that in them. Players will come up with those determinations on their own. They're the ones who are going to say you need to do X and Y to fit with the current cultural meta. Typically, that is often a very strong option, but rarely the only option for success. But to the extent that we've been seeing feedback that perhaps recent raids have focused more on standing around with melee, yeah, that's for sure something we can respond to the best of our ability. I am aware that people are talking about the power gap between melees and casters, yes. Trust me, that's been a big part of the conversation for, what, most of the summer now? and the role of casting and casting CC, and whether, you know, if you're really good at CC, but you're not doing enough DPS, are you, quote, worthless, etc. All that kind of
is locked tight and can only be opened when the runes are lit. Look for two
discussion.
will unlock the door when activated.
Well, we want to make sure that we encourage as much diversity in our class makeup as we can. So to the extent we can cater to not just the meta, but also as wide a group of participation as we can, we for sure want to do that.
The rune begins to glow. It looks very similar to a rune found on the locked door in the central corridor.
I tend to not wade into meta debates very much because I have learned over the years that people feel, one, very strongly about it. They also often think very narrowly about it. And so it's better to just let people have their opinions and listen rather than talk when it comes to some of these meta discussions. Trust me, though, if anyone has listened to me over the years, you'll know I often am not afraid to poke the bear a little bit on some of this meta nonsense. Yes, we are working toward a Lamania for next week.
The guttural groans of shuffling undead can be heard through the door. A muffled voice speaks.
Right, you choose me now.
It really has shifted, though, for a while. I remember, I mean, if we were sitting here, even a couple of years ago, it was caster DPS is king, and melees are, quote, useless in all raids. And now we've kind of come full circle again. So I'm sure the team that deals with this will continue to. And try to hit that moving target as best as we can.
The door shatters as several creatures shamble towards you. Malkirik the Lich bids his creations to attack. Malkirik shouts, "Rise, my creations!"
I really like the way he goes, "Rise, my creations!" It's very Cobra Commander.
Crush these simpletons!
Screams Malkirik. As Malkirik crumbles to dust, a feeling of calm settles throughout the room.
All right. I do like the word simpleton. It's a pretty good insult. You don't really hear it a whole lot these days, but you know, maybe we should. Maybe we should. Especially when you say it in that kind of Cobra Commander lisp.
As you enter the
Or however you want to
tavern,
describe it, I'm not
notice
quite
the
sure.
Smell of rot in the air. Gruesome shapes begin to fall from the ceiling above. Pounding can be heard from down below. A mummy and its servants drop from the roof. The creature hisses.
Was that the force master? Show me the
So any people who, to Le Charles, who says, if you're stuck in transfer, are you still stuck? What is an ETA? There's no way I could possibly provide you with an ETA. I can tell you a little bit more about the scenario, which is that we have brought in some additional customer support agents. We are working through the tickets as quickly as we can. And our CS team is continuing to work on just a massive backlog of transfer, account support, and other related tickets from the year. So they'll work with you through the ticket, and they will get to your ticket as quickly as they can. We know that it is taking longer than you would like. It's taking longer than we would like, and we will get to it as quickly as we can. But it's never going to be a situation where now, quote, we wake up one morning and the whole queue disappears, right? It's going to be a process.
The shriveled corpse crumbles to bits. With the mummy gone, Maxwell Statler nervously returns to the tavern.
It has been frustrating, I think, for everyone involved working through this ticketing process, but we are working on it as diligently as we can to get to as many folks as quickly as we can. We will get to the other side of it. We'll all be grizzled and war-torn at the end of it, but, you know. Okay, you've already done that, you did that, you did that. Grave work, let's do that, let's smash your pumpkins, do Hayward.
There have been rumors of strange things stirring within the now abandoned Haywire Foundry. It all seems quiet here now.
I am loving where I left my character on Shadowdale. The other thing I'm going to be doing kind of on and off is some raid flagging, because I'd like to get that character ready for raiding. I've considered if I'm going to do a moderate-sized live stream for Extra Life, I kind of don't want to do the visiting servers. I'd rather save that for the anniversary for 1, 2. It's kind of a big pain in the butt. So I thought I would maybe get a raid group and raid instead for a while. But we'll see. We'll see where I end up. But I would plan for Saturday, November 8th, we'll be doing a marathon on Didio stream here for Extra Life. One thing that happened this week, I've talked in the past about how I might be going to Salt Lake City for the actual Extra Life game day, but that's not happening anymore. Just kind of pulled out of that this week. because I have too many other things going on, and I want to really focus on these live streams. So that's what I'll be doing instead. And that'll be Saturday, November 8th, time TBD, probably something like noon to midnight. And I expect to get this year's Extra Life information out around October 31st. And it'll run through the end of the year. Last I looked, I didn't have anything new for this year for DDO. Sorry. For the community loot list. But I'll take a look, and if I can throw something together, I will. But otherwise, it may be a return of last year's list, but we will have Extra Life going through the end of the year again. Extra Life, I usually try to start it November 1st and run it through the end of the year. And November 1st is a Saturday, so that's why I'm thinking October 31st to be the publish it all live. Both games, English, French, German, Locher side, English, DDO side. I still have to do with do multiple languages on the other game. Yeah, I like that idea of a sparrow pet. I am most certainly not going to be able to distribute the Bottle of Mist as an Extra Life reward, sorry. Sometimes I feel like maybe the Extra Life, like the community loot list, it's not just for Extra Life, it's for any kind of community use. But it's historically been tied to Extra Life incentives. I think sometimes people see it as, well, any high-level desirable item could just go there. Well, no. No. This is stuff with basically no ecom value, or little ecom value. So anything that we might be able to sell probably ain't gonna end up on the list. But that's by design. It's a catch-all. The idea of the community loot list really got its start over the years as items, quote, disappeared from the tables. Oh, we can't get this thing anymore. Well, where are we going to put it? It's kind of an old little cosmetic or whatever. I know. Let's let Cordovan distribute it. And then as we started doing this Extra Life, it just made sense to really develop this list. But the idea is, this is lower level stuff. These are trinkets, cosmetics, fun things, nothing really of power, nothing that has meta value, although over the years we did have that one cool jump cloak. But you know what I mean. Really stuff that is statistically minor, but fun. So things like a Bottle of Mist, no way, right? Yes, worthless like the Sword of Shadows. No, like a pet rock. Exactly. Exactly. Pet rock is a good one. Same with like the old... it used to be that we had customer support wands that they would hand out back in 2006, 2007. The Eternal Titans wand and a few other things. And that's where that came from. The 2012 PAX East Winter Wolf Pup, for example, gets repurposed on the community loot list. It could be the Bottle of Mist. M-I-S-S-E-D. You chug it, and then you just start missing all the time. 100% miss chance. Bottle of Mist. I bet there's something you could do with that, though. Now that I actually said that out loud, I was like, I bet there's something that procs on guaranteed mischance that you could abuse with an item like that. Maybe not. It's not that they don't have monetary value. It just tends to be that we're not going to put, say, raid loot, power items, old power items, or things that you paid lots of real money for back in the day. Things like that. None of that makes sense for the community loot list. This is the... I mean, in some ways you could say it's like the C-tier list, but by design, right? It's designed to be more minor things than perhaps more heavily demanded items, like the bottle of mist. To be fair, though, I don't think any cosmetic is going to end up on the community loot list that we think we can make a whole bunch of money from. I mean, not that they're bad, but I'm just saying, if you got something that looks like the Volcanic Patron's Coffer, you're not throwing that in the loot list. You're going to try to sell it, right? So... There are, though, over the years, just a couple of things that people really like. There's the Shen's Robe, which really was an old Mournlands item, if I recall, from around 2007. And is a min-level 1 item that gets you a big fat jump boost. And that one actually is pretty useful. That one tends to get... I can always tell when I've got a bit of a power gamer on my hands, because they're like, I just want the Shen's Robe. But that's fine. That's fine. It doesn't kill anything. So, but otherwise, that's really a bit of an outlier. Most of the stuff isn't like that. Mournlands being the old closed NDA alpha server. Players who would get sort of into that closed preview, a little bit like Lotro's Palantir. Except DDOs didn't survive. Yeah, the lousy docent and the lousy chain shirt. There's another one. Those were came up, I believe, back in 2006 as an item for when devs would stop by events. They would give out a joke item that was a chain shirt or a docent that said, I met a dev and all I got was this lousy chain shirt, and now I think all it says is I attended an event and all I got was this lousy chain shirt. Anyway, whatever. That's all it is. It's not even a look, it's literally just an item description, really, more than anything. What did I not do? There we go.
A spectral form materializes nearby. A chill of fright runs...
There is an outfit, for example, the Shen's Robe is one of them. I think we do have... Well, we don't have an out... That's a good question. You're right, we don't have an outfit. Maybe we should get an outfit in the community loot list. I like that idea. I don't know what it would be. Something dumb. PJs. That's what it can be. Actual PJs. The Emerald Claw conspiracy items, that's an interesting idea. I'd have to look into that. I haven't heard of that one in a long time. I think actually, didn't we? Because isn't Chervol's Kukri on the community loot list? And I think that actually comes from the Emerald Claw conspiracy. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, everyone. We're going to wrap up this spooky-themed Fridays at 4. Hope you're having a great month of October. Hope you're having a good time in-game. We'll see you next Friday here with more. Fridays on 4 on Twitch. If you're watching on YouTube, giving us a like, a thumbs up. Best thing you could do is subscribe if you want these videos in your feed. And if you're on Twitch, you're already helping just by being here in chat. Thank you so much. Feel free to watch the video afterwards and give us a comment. I will see you next week. Bye-bye. Also, hello, Cranky, in chat there.